Alright guys, so I want to take a quick moment to talk about red dots versus iron sights. I don't understand why this is such a complicated subject. I'm going to make a more in-depth video about this, but for right now, we have a 1/3 IPSC at 50 meters in the rain in lesser lighting conditions. And would you believe it is infinitely easy to focus on that target and bring a point of reference, an aiming point of reference, onto that onto that target with a red dot. Now, in most of the content I have on this channel, you've seen me with the iron sights. And you can get it done with iron sights, don't get me wrong. But that's on an IPSC style target, a 1/3 IPSC, of course. And I feel pretty darn confident I can get that target pretty darn easy. But what happens when you don't have the contrast of that brown target and that black sight? What happens when the target is the same coloration as the background that it's in? Like if I take this sighting picture and I put it on the background, the kind of like dead woodland background, it is, you can discern it, but you have near zero contrast. Not zero, but near zero. And then when you can contrast that with a red dot, well, not only can you see the whole target, of course, when you put the dot on top of it, but you have no question where you're at with relation of your point of aim, your point of impact, your likely point of impact, and your target. Like, I can call shots with this. It's beautiful. It's perfect. And then when I drift that dot to the left and then put it over that dead woodland background, obviously the dot is much easier to detect, right? And what's so interesting to me about this concept is who perpetuates these ideas that you should start with iron sights. It's the tactical crowd. It's the old school fundamental crowd. The same people that say you need to train like you're in a gunfight are the people that say you should start with iron sights. Dude, I don't understand that at all. Because here's the deal. When these people go to compare red dots and irons, they spend their whole time talking about context around real world use of firearms. Like, oh, well, you can't shoot a pistol at 50 meters real world because there's all these other things going on and all the real world circumstances and your stress and all that stuff. And when you're doing whatever else, you know, the context and the layers, and you have to train all the crazy stuff and get good at stuff that doesn't really matter. But then when you talk iron sights versus red dot sights, all of a sudden you're on a pristine range, you're taking your time, you have beautifully contrasting targets. Like, imagine, like, so these your iron sights, if they get wet or if they have glare on them, your perception of the sights shifts, and you can see point of impact shifts on target because of your shifting perspective of the sights due to how they appear to you because of the glint or the reflection of water or whatever that's on the sights. Can you imagine if so this is a hollow sun Ames. Don't pay any mind to what optic this is. We're talking principles here. This just happens to be an optic we're messing with. But can you imagine if the hollow sun Ames in different lighting conditions showed a 3-minute or a 2-minute shift that was kind of sort of random? Like, everyone in the world would be like, see, this is why you need to use your iron sights. All right, now it's snowing. How to do daddy things. Anyway, so like, could you imagine if this optic in random lighting conditions would give you a 2 to 3 minute shift in your point of impact? That would be crazy. And the whole internet would be like, red dots can get you killed in varying lighting conditions. It's like, okay, fair. I would not want an optic that does that. But look what I'm using for my rifle. And am I sitting here and saying like, hey, like, I think irons are cool. You should use them because they're so awesome and simple, which they're not. But let's just say they are. So you should use them because they're so cool and simple. Like, I think you should have irons for your gun. Full stop. But I also think you should start with a red dot, because you take this whole thing you need to learn, shooting, and you simplify it, right? When organizations like the Army come out and like equip their entire force and their entire initial training around the concept of a red dot, like that's not like that's a big freaking deal, right? Like that is a huge expense. And the Army was like, yep, that's worth it. Why? The Army doesn't use red dots for any of the things that we see red dots being beneficial for. I mean, they benefit from those things, but like you don't train passive aiming in the Army. At least you didn't 2014 and 19, as far as I know. You don't typically put 3x magnifiers behind your red dots. You don't typically have a light red dot. You don't typically use white light with the red dots. So it's a 12-hour aiming solution most places, not so much here. Like, and the Army was like, nope. All that being irrelevant, red dots make sense. Why? Because it's simpler to train masses of people how to use a red dot. And it's simpler to train masses of people because it's simpler in process. The concepts of basic rifle marksmanship, the fundamentals can be focused on rather than figuring out how to use your sights. Now, should you learn how to use iron sights? Of course. Obviously, you should learn how to use iron sights. Now, do you need to spend 2 years using iron sights in Alaska to freaking cover you and your family's butt? Probably not. That wasn't really a shooting development journey. That was a personal development journey. Another story for another day. Do I appreciate what I've learned over those 2 years? Absolutely. But it's like, but never in a million years I'd be like, hey, homie, you should start with iron sights. Take the shooting problem that you're going to learn, complicate it, take longer to get to a place where you feel confident with your weapon system, and then, like, take that all into your actual life where you actually depend on this rifle to defend your family. Like, probably not. Probably not. So, rather, I'm not going to tell you what to buy because I'm biased in that, and we are actively developing solutions for that particular problem, which we're not going to talk about in this video because I don't want YouTube to hate me, okay? So, and this is not the thing. This is a H-bar barrel. This is a test rifle for us. So, this is a personal rifle, for clarification. Hello, my friends at ATF. This is a personal rifle. But I have this rifle for my own testing and evaluation to understand principally what these things do, and in certain aspects that we all kind of know but aren't actually able to define. Another topic for another day. Anyway, never in a million years would I tell someone, hey man, look, don't worry about that red dot. Just get yourself a good pair of iron sights and learn the basics. No, dude. Use the iron sights and figure out kind of how they work, and then fold them down and use a red dot. Because you're going to take your whole shooting problem, your whole shooting journey, all of your development, and you're going to simplify it. Your sight picture, put the dot on your point of focus. That's it. That sounds kind of nice. Sounds kind of simple. Oh, it's a little hard to see? Hit this button once or twice and turn it up. It's a little bit too bright? Hit this button and turn it down. You can't change the contrast on your irons unless you like paint them or something. And that's only a 12-hour solution. If you can see the target, you can engage the target. If you can discern the target, you can engage the target. If like these things are just infinitely better. And then if you save up 100 or 200 or 300 or 400 bucks, you can slap a 3x on here and you can get right nasty with a rifle with a 3x magnifier on it. You can get really, really mean. It can get really cool. So, like, I don't know why someone right now, when ammunition costs what it does, and time costs what it does, and life costs what it does, I don't know why someone would take your initial journey and make it harder. It has to be like cognitive dissonance or something. Like, it has to be, because these people are being fed by people that are just out of date and refuse to change it. Because these are not people that are stupid. These are people that are, honestly, I believe are well-meaning. I believe they are honestly trying to do good. I believe they honestly are good. More good than bad, at least. No man is truly good. But for whatever reason, they're stuck in this idea that, like, iron sights are the way to be. Like definitely have irons. Definitely have irons. Does it have to be on your gun? I don't really care if it's on your gun or not. I want you to have access to a good set of iron sights. Definitely, definitely. because you don't know what your next 10 years looks like, and you don't know what the world looks like in 10 years. So maybe invest in a good, solid iron sight solution. I think that's wise. But as far as your initial setup, your initial equipment, your initial training, and you can run a red dot as long as you'd like. I'm not saying you have to circle back and mess with the iron sights. I found it really cool, and if you think it's cool, you should do it. But if you don't want to do it, whatever. You kind of have a basic idea. Like I didn't put these irons on the gun and then not know how to shoot for a month. Like that's not what happened. Like I zeroed these irons, and the first thing I did with the gun was I went and did ladder drills at 100 meters with a 4-inch square. Like that was neat. I hadn't ever trained iron sights in my life. You don't need to go and spend 6 months learning how to shoot iron sights. It's not that big. If you want to be good with iron sights, you do need to spend time with iron sights. That's a real thing. If you want to be good with them, that takes time because it's a harder aiming system to learn. The information it gives you is harder to discern. It's less sure. It is more apt to be occluded. It's more apt to be a not very good witness. It takes a lot more to master, and I enjoy the challenge, and I do enjoy the layers that you get in iron sights because there's a lot of cool stuff going on with iron sights that you can take advantage of, and I think that's really groovy. But just because I think that's groovy doesn't mean I would tell you to take your time from your family and then make your shooting development harder, right? And these are developmental tools before they are defensive tools. They need to be in order for them to be defensive tools that work. If you aren't developed with the tool, it's not a very good defensive tool, is it? Like definitionally. So let's make the developmental journey as fruitful as it can be with simple equipment, like a red dot, light, sling, right? This doesn't have a sling, it's a test rifle. Again, it will have a sling soon. But anyway, I don't know, guys. I'm going to have a more in-depth video on this. That's going to have like graphics and comparisons and all that fun jazz. But just being out here in the snow and rain and having a chance to look at these targets, like, it's just so odd. And then if you use white light, especially in the rain, because the white light on the rain makes it very hard, or snow. It's like the 28th of April or something like that. It's snowing. That's cool. But snow and rain with white light bouncing off of it makes the contrast on your front sight almost impossible to see, right? And you're not going to learn that on a nice sunny high contrast range. You're not going to know that until you're out in this kind of environment and doing it. And hopefully that isn't for real, right? Hopefully it's not a grizzly bear at 30 meters that's looking at your family as lunch and you're like, oh my, I need this thing to work right now and I'm not confident in what I'm seeing. That would not be very fun, right? Where a red dot, like, you know, oh gosh, scary thing, you just put the thing on there, like, kind of nice. Now, it requires batteries. Okay, like, what problem is that? You charge your phone every night. You can't swap a battery once a year, once every 6 months if you want to be safe, right? Like, you take 5 minutes a year to swap a battery, or 5 minutes every 6 months to swap a battery. And what you get in return is a much simpler optic with legs. Like, I don't understand why this is even a conversation. But having used iron sights in Alaska for 2 years now, like I like iron sights. I think they're cool. I don't understand why people are recommending them over red dots for beginners in 2026. It's crazy. Anyway, love you guys. Shalom.